Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Mac.
And today we're going to be giving our chippy review of Alpine Trails from last night's game. So actually sent us a copy of this game, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But we've played this one a few times. We actually have a playthrough on our channel, so you can go check that out if you want to see how it's played. If you want to see all the contents inside the box, you can go check that out as well in our unboxing video. We'll get right into our chippy. If you've never watched one of our chippy reviews before, the different letters in chippy stand for different parts, and then we weighted average those together and determine our final score. So we'll just get right into it. The core mechanics or mechanisms in the game, I'm going to come in with a 7 out of 10 on that one, just because I think it's a solid kind of tile placement game where you're putting either trails out there or you're putting landmark or land types and just trying to create big groups of those and do certain things with the trails to score different points, and I think it just works really well where you're grabbing two tiles. I would say really the only two negatives I could see with it is sometimes because there's no drafting in this game, unlike a game like Cascadia or something, you are just pulling tiles out of the bag, which you get two options. On each tile they have a front and back. But you may just be looking for something and you're not getting it, and there's really no way to manipulate that.
Right.
So you could get unlucky that way, and then the end game scoring cards. I think it's fun because it gives you a little bit of something to work towards, but then some I think are a little bit more difficult than others and might just not score as well as others.
Yeah.
I can't prove that with a number of games we've played, but just feels like this one I would never give to a player playing the first time kind of thing. So, but otherwise, I think it accomplishes exactly what it's doing, being a tile placement game.
Yeah. I come in at a 7 just for the same reasons. The cards, which you've already touched on, the trails, it's highly luck based, right? So you only put 64 tiles in out of the full set, and so there's
in a two-player game.
Yeah, in a two-player game, which is what we've played, and there's no mitigation on you put in 3 wood tiles, you put in 3 meadow tiles.
True.
Nothing like that. You get a full random set of them, and so there might be a lot of rocks, there might not be any rocks, and so you're kind of stuck with that, and then drawing 2 out, that really is going to hinder what you can do depending on how lucky you are. So that part I both like and dislike because it can be frustrating when it's just I just can't use this in a good way. So, but it does challenge you to try and figure out creative ways around that. So
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I do like about it. So I would say it's also, well, we'll get to it. History. So the history for us is how many times we've played it. So we've both played it 5 times. So the max it could be is 10, and that'd be the full point. So this one's weighted kind of a little lower than the others, but just showing that we have played this one 5 times now. And then we get into investment, which is talking more about kind of the time investment, not necessarily how much does it cost, and whether we think you make the most of your time and are getting it doesn't feel like it's overly long or drags on or anything, kind of those things. What did you come in with for investment?
I came in with a 7. I think it's good. The setup isn't terrible. You do have to count out, in our case, 64 tiles, which isn't terrible, but it's just something you have to do. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward on setup and stuff. I did with the replayability of it, if you're going to invest in this game and want to play it multiple times, I think it's good for a here or there kind of game, but I wouldn't say this is a game that you're going to probably be bringing to the table constantly on that piece. So I think it was good. There's not really a whole lot to it, setting up and kind of getting into it. I feel like it takes a decent amount of time. It's all simultaneous play, which we love. So I think overall just a good investment.
Yeah, I got a 7.5 for this one, so just a little bit higher, but I agree with all those things. It's kind of that filler style game. It fits that. Because of the simultaneous play, I think this one is going to stay relatively short. Even if we would have played it it goes up to 5 players, even at that player count, since you're all pulling the tiles out at the same time, it should finish as quick as your slowest player.
Yeah.
So it all comes down to that. But otherwise, yeah, I never felt like, oh my gosh, this is dragging on, and it just feels unsatisfying. I liked every bit of it, and yeah, it's. I think for us, especially, probably playing in under 20 minutes easily for two players, because once you know how to play it, this one's really fast.
For sure.
Then we get into presentation for our first P in Chippy, and yeah, this one. I mean, lovely artwork on the box, and that falls through into the actual game tiles, I think. I've got this one at a 9 out of 10. It's got these wooden pieces that I think are amazing. I think the only thing negative that I would say about it is the fact that you don't get to use more of those wooden pieces, because they are top-notch, 10 out of 10 kind of wooden pieces, I think. And you get to use some of them in the game, but not all that many. And then I would say... if you, like me, didn't have the best sight, luckily I'm nearsighted, so it's not as big of a deal, but if I was farsighted, there is like little distances on the tiles, and I think that could be a little small for some people, so it could be difficult to see. So there is that piece. I think that would be the only other flaw that I can think of.
Making them a little bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came in at a 9.5, so just a little bit higher than you. I agree. Last Night Games always has presentation. Like every game they do, big or small, it always comes with some really good presentation. And I think this one is probably one of the better ones, even out of that really stacked pack.
I would agree.
So, you know, from like anything from like, you probably can't see it, but there's like little details on the cover, to the animals, the tiles. It's very clear what you're doing. They've got icons, like just great tiles, all of it. Little campsites are adorable. The double-sided campsite lake situation, that's really clever of them to use. The only reason I knocked it down half a point was because on the cards I feel like it's not always as clear as it could be for what you're scoring.
Oh, yeah.
And so I just was like, yeah, that could be a spot where maybe they could have added like a little blurb to explain it, because you could probably do some of them in multiple ways, depending on how you look at it. The rule book might help a little bit, but the rule books sometimes
it doesn't have explanations on all of the things.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think they were trying their hardest to make it like language independent, it seemed like.
Okay.
That's kind of what it seems like, but yeah, in some cases there were some things that it's like, I don't quite know exactly what this means. Just because, yeah, based on, like I'd said before, that being one of those things that I was like, I don't know if I think they're balanced or not. Like, depending on how you read it, it's like, well, if that's the case, then this one, compared to this one, I mean, I can't even see it scoring 1/3 of what this other one scores, so it's got to mean this instead. But then that also feels like powerful, so then it makes it hard. Some of them, I would agree.
Yeah.
Then we go into preference, the second P.
Preference. I give it a 7 for right now. We have done 5 plays of it. I have enjoyed all 5 of our plays. I think it's different enough from our other filler games that I think it kind of stands alone in its spot on the shelf. I don't know that anything else, but I think if you're looking for kind of a light, maybe a Cascadia Karuba feeling type thing, maybe a little bit heavier than Karuba, I would say I wouldn't mind pulling this off the shelf, and I would be really interested to see how it plays for 5 people too, just to kind of get more of those tiles out and the animals and fighting over what you get.
Yeah, suppose you get all the animals, probably get more likely to get all those animals out in that way. You can check out our playthrough to see how those animals do come out. But yeah, I'm coming in at a 7 as well for preference. This is one of those, I think 7 is kind of what I give those games that it's like, every now and then I get in the mood and I'd be like, I want to play that one, especially for, being the filler game that it is. It's going to be one you can play, I think, with most people, most family members, whether they're big into gaming or not. I think most of the things are pretty self-explanatory, or make a lot of sense, easy to understand. So, yeah, this one falls there 7 for me as well.
All right, last I.
And then we get into It Factor, which, I was trying to think, I'm like, to me, I don't know that there's much that really stands out. I gave it a 2.5. I think the wooden pieces and stuff in it are some of the better ones I've seen in a game. I think the only thing I can think of that right off the top of my head that I think is better are maybe the ones in King Domino Origins. But then outside of that, that's what these make me. These feel like they could be in that game, and I consider those probably some of the best meeples in any game, personally, or wooden pieces, whatever you want to call them. So it does have that part, and then yeah, the artwork, the whole production value is probably pretty top notch compared to maybe some other filler games. So.
I gave it a 6, just primarily because not only is it tile building, but it's also pathway building, and I find that really interesting. I feel like there's not a lot of games where you get to sit and like actually path build that I enjoy playing, like not
like route building.
Yeah, route building. Because I don't necessarily like Carcassonne, but I like the path building piece of that, and like Karuba I enjoy. So it is tile placement, but I think it's really kind of fun to try and figure out, okay, so I have this weird curvy shape, you know, I have to choose to either use this or flip it or whatever. So okay, how can I use this with its type to get me what I need? You know, those kinds of things I just think is kind of what brought it a little bit higher for me. So
Yeah, that's always a tough one. It's kind of just what you feel at the time, I think.
It is it.
And it counts for the least amount weighted towards our final scores, which, getting into the final scores, I came in with a 7.08.
Oh!
Which makes me feel like it's wrong, because I don't think it should be like a weird number like that.
Interesting.
But that's what I came in with.
All right. I came in at a 7.25.
Yes, so definitely one that I think we would both recommend if you tend to like filler games, especially with the tile placement aspect. But yeah, otherwise we've got a bunch of other we've done a lot of other ones for last night games, and I think those ones kind of feel like they're in that similar. So if you like those kind of more family weight things, a lot of their games fit into that category. So you can go check out our other content on those ones if you want. Like I said, all that's been provided by them, so take it with a grain of salt. But otherwise, we hope to see you on those videos, and as always, don't forget to keep on nibbling on our content.